You're listening to Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. Our show provides listeners with an insider perspective of Texas A&M athletics and its greatest supporters. This podcast will bring you exclusive interviews with coaches, athletes, donors, and the dedicated staff of Aggie Athletics and the 12th Man Foundation. You ready? Let's dive into today's episode. Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of Answering the Call podcast, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. This is your host, Ivy Robinson, and today I am joined by Texas A&M Track and Field student athlete Sam Whitmarsh. Sam, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here today.
Howdy, thanks for having me.
So Sam, let's start by having you introduce yourself first. Tell us where you're from, what track events you run, and a surprising fact about yourself that most people don't know.
Well, I'm from Lake Jackson, Texas. I went to Brazos Wood High School. I run the 800 meter here at Texas A&M. And man, a surprising fact that people don't know about me. Man, I used to play goalkeeper on the soccer team in high school, and I played basketball, but I was not very good.
Oh, okay, goalkeeper. So what did you like about soccer?
It was fun. I loved playing soccer, and playing goalkeeper was a passion growing up. But the funny thing was, whenever I was standing in goal, I was always like, man, I just wish I could go run. And sure enough, I guess I found my true passion later on in high school when I actually just took that to the track. But yeah, that was a big thing. I was like, I love doing this, but man, I wish I could just go run.
It kind of showed you what you really were wanting to do, or your heart was really wanting to do,
something
right?
like that. Yeah.
Well, that was one of my questions. How did you get introduced into track and running? Was it just from that experience of being goalkeeper in soccer, or did you have family members or friends who encouraged you to start running?
I really just wanted to start running to stay in shape for basketball, kind of like I mentioned earlier. Again, wasn't the greatest. That's for sure. I think, again, I found where I needed to be. But yeah, after my freshman year of high school, after that basketball season, I went to my the track coach at the time, and I was like, "Hey, coach, I'm looking to run track." And he kind of looked at me, and he's a teacher in one of my classes, and he looked at me and said, "Sam, tryouts were 3 weeks ago." I just kind of looked at him, and I was
You're
like,
out of luck.
"So like, can I still?" And he was like, "Meet me after school at 4:00 today." And so then I'm like calling my mom, and I'm like, "Hey, mom, can you bring some like running shoes and like maybe some running clothes?" And that's kind of where it all started. That was Coach Sincere over at Brazos Wood. Now I believe he's coaching at Brazosport, but he and Coach Oliveri had a huge impact on my first couple years of running, and I definitely wouldn't be here without them. But yeah, I just wanted to stay in shape and really wasn't thinking about doing it long term. I was like, I'll play basketball for 4 years like my dad did, and we'll go from there. I had no idea that I'd still be running today.
Okay, what a cool story. Your dad played basketball. Did he play in college or anything?
Just intramural, but not anything for a school. But yeah, he played. He actually also went to the high school that I went to. So it was kind of cool getting to step on that court and be like, wow, like my dad played here, just a couple years ago. And it's cool to be back.
Yeah, like that family legacy. That's really neat.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, you said you're from Lake Jackson?
Correct.
Tell me about Lake Jackson, growing up there, what it was like, what you loved about it. Tell us more about that.
Oh my gosh, the first thing that comes to my mind, growing up in Lake Jackson, I had an awesome friend group, a great group of guys, and our friend group just really kind of meshed together, especially as we got into high school and we could drive, and there's really not a whole lot to do around Lake Jackson. But whenever you have a vehicle, a whole lot of opportunities open up.
That's right. How big is the city?
Last I checked, I think it's around 27,000 people, so reasonable size. But we're about 15 minutes away from the beach. So every weekend we drive out to the beach and just end up having a fire and just hanging out. And I met a friend, his name was Jake, who moved in from California. And one day I remember he was like, "Hey, you want to come learn how to surf?" And I'm like, "Dude, you can't surf these waves. I've lived here."
I knew that's exactly where I was like, he's about to start talking about surfing.
Yeah, it's like, you can't surf these waves, dude. That's insane. And he's like, "Dude, come on, just come out. Like, I'll show you." And sure enough, I mean, if you get a 9.5 foot, 10 foot board, on those little like 2-foot waves out there, you can actually have a lot of fun. So he started teaching us how to surf, picked up a surfboard from a family friend that was, this beat up old yellow thing that had all these patches all over it. And I had to buy a patch kit and I'm patching it up and bought a new fin for it. And that was like my baby. And like we just like, I would go out with a couple buddies on the weekends when we could, when the waves were good, we'd go shred some gnar.
Gosh, that sounds so fun. Do you still surf? Like
I
today,
do.
like when you have the option in the free time?
Yes. Yeah. When I go back home, I get in the water as soon as I can, as long as the waves are good. Even if the waves aren't good, I might just paddle out there and just sit on the board and just hang out. It's awesome. We would sometimes go on dawn patrols, what we'd call it. As soon as the sun was rising, we'd get out there. There's nothing like being out there at sunrise and just hanging out. I did one time, this quick story. We were out there around sunset, which is, like usually whenever they suggest that you probably shouldn't be in the water. And so me and my friend are cognizant of that. Jake and I are, but we're like, the waves are awesome today. And we're sitting out there and the sky's turning all sorts of beautiful colors. I mean, like it's purple, it's blue, it's orange, it's yellow, and it's just like, it's an incredible sunset. And I'm sitting there and I'm like sitting on my board and I'm like, I don't think life can get much cooler than this. I'm like, this is like peak. And then all of a sudden, I just hear my buddy go, Finn! And I'm like, oh, so this is how I die.
Went from peak to rock bottom.
I was like, well, yeah, God painted this beautiful picture for me to be the last thing that I ever see on this earth. And so I'm like, immediately, like I'm turning my board around, I'm getting ready to catch the next wave to get back into shore. And my head's on a swivel trying to figure out where this thing is. And yeah, what's going to kill me? And eventually I see the fin come back up and it was maybe 20 feet away, but it was a dolphin. Luckily. And so it went from I'm going to die to this just got 10 times cooler somehow.
Surfing with dolphins.
And
how much more can it get?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like surfing with dolphins. I was like, that was pretty cool. So I miss that a lot about Lake Jackson and being back home with that friend group. Yeah, I made some really good friends down there. And before we could drive, we were biking to each other's houses and hanging out with that kind of stuff.
That's so fun. What's one thing you learned or took from your hometown that has stayed with you during your time at Texas A&M?
I kind of mentioned that friend group, really just the importance and the value of having that good, close friend group and that community. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. That was like one of the first things I started looking for whenever I came here. And our friend group had separated. Of course, we all stayed in touch, but some of us went our separate ways. My really good buddy, TJ, is now in the Navy. I don't know where he is. I think he's operating a nuclear submarine somewhere. So hopefully in a couple months, I get to ask him how that was. But he's stationed all the way up in Seattle, and the rest of us are kind of spread around the country. Luckily, we had a couple people also come to the promised land here at Texas A&M. So that's been a privilege.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, so changing the topic to a recent accolade, you were a part of the Texas A&M men's track and field team that earned its first ever SEC indoor championship back in March. I want to know, what was that entire experience like from your perspective? Walk us through your mindset through that whole meet.
Yeah, totally. So like going into the meet, like coach had been talking to us a lot. It's like, hey, like we can do this. Like we have an opportunity. We have the team. We have the people. We just have to put it together. And so going through that was kind of exciting, getting to step on the line with that in mind, knowing that like doing the best that I could on this day could really affect our team standing. It was also a little bit nerve-wracking. Definitely some nerves and fear there kind of earlier on in the season. Had a little bit rockier start this year, coming back from injury and trying to get back up on the horse a little bit, and hadn't necessarily had the greatest races leading up to SECs. So, I mean, the big prayer on that day, my buddy Blake told me this, Blake Harris told me this at breakfast one day before my final, and he had prayed this, and it was just awesome. It really resonated with me, and I was like, I love that heart posture, and it was really just like, hey, God, like, Lord, if I have it in me today, just like help me give it, like help me bring it out. And whatever you have for me today, like help me give it. Whatever the best that I can do is, just let it be done. And luckily, and I'm so grateful that was bringing home gold for our team. And that was just, I mean, it meant more than just getting to wear a gold medal for myself. I mean, every point mattered, and that was really cool to just contribute to that. But like I said, every point mattered, and it's not just me. It took that whole team. Mm-hmm. Like, it took every single person that stepped on that track, regardless of placement, regardless of what they did. Like, every person had a part of that, even if it wasn't in points, just like contributing attitude to the team and contributing encouragement and contributing just being a teammate. Like, it meant so much. Everybody had an integral part. And that was so special. Watching our 4x4 come through and getting to see, like, it happened. Like, it actually happened. Like, we've been talking about it for so long, and we've come so close in my time here at Texas A&M, but it's never come to fruition. And to see it, like, come together was kind of like, wow, like, it is possible. And so awesome. And just so much gratitude for that opportunity and for my teammates and the people that I've gotten to line up against on the track and line up with on the track. I couldn't ask for anything else, and just been incredibly grateful for it.
You know, it sounds like there's just an incredible culture within the track and field program, and just y'all all seem really close to me, and that just speaks a lot to the leadership with the track and field program, and there's the awesome recruits and talents and just people that are coming to Texas A&M to be a part of it. How would you describe, you know, the relationships that you've made with Texas A&M Track and Field, other student athletes, and how have they made you a better athlete and individual?
Yeah, definitely. Man, I mean, I think immediately back to my event group. I mean, these people I train with every day. You're talking about Caden Norris and Grant Ashby and Kamar Farquharson. I mean, and Kennedy Wade. Whenever she's with us, she kind of hops between groups. But man, just being able to step on the track with them every day. I mean, those aren't just like runners. I mean, those are men of character. And their time here at Texas A&M is more than just track times. They've had an impact on me, encouraging me to be the best that I can. And they've had just a huge impact on everybody that they get to interact with. It's really awesome to just get to see all of the people on the team and how they all interact together and encourage one another. And man, that's something that I see those guys and Kennedy do so well. It's been really cool. Kennedy and I came in the same class, so that was really fun to kind of get to grow up through Texas A&M Track and Field together and live through that. And she was also an engineer, so we kind of had to go through that together and encourage each other through that. Definitely wasn't the easiest journey, but it was worth it. And man, you know, to forge steel, you kind of got to put it in the fire. And I think Kennedy and I may have put ourselves in a little bit hotter of a fire than we had bargained for, but I think we came out better because of it. But so encouraged by her and so encouraged by the guys. And then the perspectives and the views that Kamar brings, just as an international athlete, has just this broadened my worldview and just expanded my perspectives and has been so awesome. And so every single person, just in that little 4 to 5 person event group, has had an integral part in my development and in my life. And needless to say, the rest of the team has as well.
It's just going back to that word community, right? And how valuable having that close, tight-knit group around you is, you know, when you're chasing after a goal or when you're, you know, experiencing something. That's awesome, Sam. Yeah, I loved what you said there. You said something about how, like, for yourself and for your teammates, it's more than track, you know, being here at Texas A&M. Tell me about some of the ways you've impacted this university outside of track.
Yeah, so Texas A&M, I mean, it's unlike anywhere else on the planet. And I referred to it as the promised land earlier. I'm a believer that there's something special about this place.
This is God's country.
And indeed it is. Indeed it is. And there's some story out there about God being an Aggie, and I'd like to think that he would like the 12th man. But man, just being here on campus, there's been so many awesome opportunities. And one of the first opportunities I got to seize, and I didn't get to stay in as long as I would have liked, was Engineers Without Borders, and just the impact that they have on the world, whether it's here in Bryan College Station with the REACH project or going overseas to Rwanda and building just sanitary bathrooms over there. I mean, it's amazing. I know they're doing water work. I can't remember if it's in the Dominican or where it's at, but they're also doing drainage projects to try to keep the spread of malaria down in a couple other countries. And I got to work on the REACH project here on the affordable housing side, just for all of the people that work for Texas A&M, what REACH defines as kind of the invisible Aggies. That's our cleaning staff, the people who are mowing the lawns, who are taking care of our grounds, that we don't really get to see as students on a daily basis. But they're here and they love this university so much, to give so much of their time, and just the guy who started Reach got to come and talk to one of my classes, another org that I'm in called Zachary Leadership Program, and kind of explained his heart behind the whole thing, and getting to hear the statistics and getting to hear everything about these people and just what an impact they make on this university. And how far they travel to do it. I think it was like 50% of them are traveling like at least over 30 minutes to come here and back for work. And it's like 30 minutes to an hour. It was just crazy. But these people mean so much to us. And being able to just try my best to have a little bit of impact and show a little bit of gratitude for everything that they do for us. This university wouldn't run without them. And was such a blessing and really, really cool to be a part of. And I wish I could have done it a little bit longer. Later on, I moved to Zachary Leadership Program, like I mentioned, and I also joined the Maroon Coats. It's been a blessing to be a part of those two programs. I think I've made some of my best friends in college in those two programs. I actually got breakfast with one of my good buddies from ZLP the other day. His name's Josh. Great guy, awesome guy, and just so encouraging just to get to be with him. And I wouldn't have gotten to meet him had it not been for ZLP.
Going back, you mentioned engineering.
Yes.
Tell us what your major is and what drew you to study that area.
So I'm a materials engineer. And my freshman year, you probably could have asked me at any 3-week interval, like what I wanted to do, and I would have told you a different answer. I was kind of floating around between materials, and I was like, yeah, maybe architectural, and I was like, yeah, mechanical, and I was like, environmental sounds fun. I was like, I had no idea. And really, it kind of came full circle back to materials. And I say full circle, I think my love for engineering and my love for materials engineering in specific really started in high school in our rocketry program. And our rocketry program wasn't your normal little 1-foot rocket. We're going to shoot this thing up, a couple 100 feet and it's going to come down kind of fun thing. We had some really, really, really awesome teachers at Brazos Wood who went just above and beyond for our program to start some really incredible things. And the two teachers that really come to mind who had their hands or just elbow deep in this whole process were Mr. Hobbs and Mr. McLeod. Mr. Hobbs is pretty much the creator of our rocketry program. He got, I guess, the highest certification that you can get, which essentially allowed him to build 20-foot long rockets and go be a part of this program called Systems Go that's sponsored by NASA, and go out to White Sands Missile Range during the summer and go launch these giant rockets into the sky. So he really started that. And that had been going for a couple years before I got there. And then the baton was handed to Mr. McLeod kind of around whenever I got there, and that transition was made. And he carried on that legacy. And my senior year, our capstone project was building such rocket. And on that rocket, I had the role of airframe lead, so I was making sure that everything in the airframe fit together from the nose cone to our oxygen. So we had it as a hybrid rocket. So we were running off of nitrous oxide and a solid fuel, and our solid fuel was ABS for you engineering people out there. And
yeah, I'm totally following.
Right. Right. No, for sure. And so making sure from nose cone to ox tank to our aft end that was holding our solid fuel all fit together and wasn't going to fall apart mid-flight. And as well as that role, it was kind of just given to me to try and make a carbon fiber pressure vessel for our aft end that would hold our combustion chamber. And so that's kind of where all that sparked. I ended up researching a process called vacuum-assisted resin transfusion for creating carbon fiber parts, and we were able to make our aft end out of that, and then proceeded to make the typical carbon fiber fins that our program had been known for the past couple of years. And we were able to kind of integrate all those together. And somehow this was in the midst of COVID. So this project was definitely
not challenging at all, right?
In crunch time a little bit with all the backups and shipping and everything. We didn't get our parts in until about 18 days before we needed to have it done. So lots of hours. Oh, we got it done.
Succeed? Yeah.
We did. A couple hours and a couple all-nighters later, we were able to get our oxygen tank pressure tested, and we're able to get this thing out to White Sands and get it launched. But unfortunately, the military gave us about 20 minutes to set up our communication system with our rocket, so we weren't able to get radio transmission locked in before they wanted us to launch. And they were actually focused on the wrong launch pad. So whenever our rocket went up and we're sitting in mission control and we're all jumping up and down, we're like, hey, why does it say 0 feet? And it was because they were not focused on the right launch pad. So they had to swing over the radar and then manually track our rocket. The last ping that we got was 36,000 feet. And then it just kind of disappeared. So it's somewhere.
So who knows? Yeah.
It's in New Mexico. We don't know where. We have no idea where. But that was success enough for us. We were trying a lot of new and different techniques and taking on different challenges with that rocket. The people on that team were just so incredibly bright. And again, a big part of my friend group was also on that team. So that was cool. I mentioned TJ
friend that was
earlier.
a surfer?
Yes.
Was he on the...
Jake was not, but TJ was. Now TJ's a nuclear operator with the Navy. So crazy to see where all those people went. But yeah, TJ and I and a couple of our other friends were all on that. Yeah, we were just a bunch of nerds in high school.
So is the dream to work for NASA one day?
I don't know. That would be really cool. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm not totally sure where I'll end up after all this running in circles is over. And wherever God leads, I'll follow.
How have you balanced the demands of being both a student and an athlete here at Texas A&M? Because engineering, that is super demanding. And then also being a student athlete, I mean, especially during season, that's a challenge. How have you juggled both of those responsibilities?
Yeah, totally. I'm not going to lie. My first 2 years of college, I didn't have much of a life. So getting into Maroon Coats and ZLP were two of the best things that ever happened to me. And those really kicked off at the end of my sophomore year, coming to junior year. But freshman and sophomore year, I didn't really do much other than track and study. That was definitely a challenge. But looking back now, I think it was worth it. Yeah, there's lots of late nights, and just between balancing getting rest and being hydrated and taking care of yourself and getting the right food. And also I have this giant coding assignment that's due at the end of the week, and I don't know how to code. I never learned how to code. This was before certain assisting technologies were out there that could have helped. So I was really doing it on my own, and that was tough. But again, it was a good reminder that we can do hard things, and really looking back on it, just the emphasis on, what a gift school is. It's really easy to kind of be distracted from that, especially when we're stressed out trying to get these assignments done. And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I've got to wake up for 8 a.m. class and I've got to get sleep, but I have to finish this homework.
Not very fun in the moment, but in hindsight.
Right. No, exactly.
Blessing. Yep.
Exactly. And further on down the line, as I continued schooling, it really tried to shift my perspective towards this is a blessing. It's a blessing to be here at Texas A&M and to be doing these classes. This is what I'm here to do, and this is what I have the opportunity to do. And I can either, be here and hate the whole thing, or I can try my best to embrace it and try to learn something from it. And I think that perspective really started to help, and that perspective kind of bled into a lot of other things as well, from track into student orgs and friendships and all that awesome stuff. So being centered on gratitude, or at least trying my best to be, definitely wasn't perfect with that, especially when it came to school. But
did you utilize any student athlete resources to help you balance those two areas? We're sitting in the Adams Heason Academic and Wellness Center right now, and this is a brand new building. Obviously, Texas A&M student athletes have access to such great staff, and we've got the Clark Nutrition Center. How have all of those components helped you become a better athlete and individual?
Oh my gosh. I don't know that this experience would have been nearly as enjoyable, that's for sure, without these things, let alone potentially possible. Not having to worry about going home and cooking a meal for myself, which, is something I'm probably going to start working on. I probably should stop being so reliant on Clark, but it's so good. It's why would I want to learn how to cook whenever I could go here and eat the best food that I've ever eaten? Probably way better than anything I could cook.
What's your favorite meal?
Oh my gosh. They'll have crazy stuff here. It's always, steak night's always great. I'm a big rice bowl guy, though. As soon as they have anything like that, it's awesome. There's so much. I don't know what to choose. This morning I just had a fantastic smoothie, the smoothie I get every morning, and it's great. It's just awesome. I can walk in, I can get it, I can walk out. And it's
convenient.
It's so great. It's so great. And the fact that it's all together as well, especially freshman and sophomore year, whenever things were really, really kicking up. school-wise, I would go, I'd eat dinner, and then a lot of the times I'd have a tutoring appointment right after dinner. So I'd be able to have my food, be fueled, not be hangry for this tutoring thing, which definitely doesn't help when you're trying to learn, and go and get tutoring, the access to tutoring through the academic center here. It was awesome. One semester, I was like, hey, I'm just taking, what was I taking? I was taking, I think, Physics 2. I was like, hey, I definitely need a tutor for this. Like, this is kind of tough. I have no idea what I'm doing. And none of this makes sense. I don't know that it makes much more sense still. But with this, I'm going to forget his name, but he was awesome. And he'd come, he'd meet me here. We'd talk for an hour. We'd go over problems, and that was it. And he was a student as well. I mean, he was getting compensated for his time through the academic center. He would tell me about his OChem tests, and we'd laugh about that and then keep talking about physics. And he'd help me out, and it was awesome. I don't know that I would have done as well in that class without him. And that's just one instance of many where that easy access to tutors really, really helped in my development and being able to actually succeed on the track and in the classroom as well.
Yeah. What has been your proudest moment when you look back and reflect on your time as a student athlete here at Texas A&M? What's been that one moment that really sticks with you?
I think the one moment that really sticks with me was my freshman year, and I think it really sticks with me because it's a moment that I don't think I really ever deserved. And I still don't think I deserve. But my freshman year, I don't know for the listeners if y'all have heard anything else, but I had a couple heart procedures. My freshman year, I was diagnosed with Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. And total God thing, by the grace of the Lord, that I was diagnosed here at Texas A&M and not 10 years prior. Had the surgery been really done by anybody else or been overly ambitious, I would have been given a pacemaker at like 10 or 11 years old, and I would never have had the opportunity to do athletics at all. So the fact that even though I was having problems at a young age and it was kind of frustrating for a couple of years and I had to live with it, when I got here and we were able to properly diagnose it and take care of it the way that it needed to be taken care of, I'm still running. And I got to find my love for running, and I got to do so many other amazing things that I wouldn't have been able to do had that surgery been done earlier and been messed up earlier. And the probability of it being messed up at a younger age, just because of the size of my heart and all that fun stuff, was a lot higher. But my freshman year, after my first procedure in January, they didn't quite get it all. I was still having some issues, but that was because they were being really cautious. They didn't want to, again, like I said, overdo it.
Right. And be too invasive, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That could have really resulted in not good outcomes and totally, cutting off my running career. But by the grace of God, they didn't. And they had to let it heal. And they're like, we can't go back in and do another procedure right now. So as long as you feel good and as everything heals up and nothing crazy happens, you can run. And so working with the surgeons and working with our coaching staff and working with our training staff, I was able to get back up into running shape by spring break that year, which was a total blessing and something I never would have thought possible.
That was a span of like 3 months? Oh
yeah, so by March I was running again.
Wow. I
ran my first collegiate race in Arizona on spring break. I ran a 4x4. And it was what a blessing that was. I remember stepping off of that and just being just kind of like, wow, I can't believe that just happened.
Were you nervous? I mean, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I would have been like, not able to breathe. Like,
right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. First collegiate race, let alone after heart surgery. I didn't know, but so grateful for that. And later on, again, I can't look at you or tell the listeners that like this was just all me and something that like I did of my own. It doesn't make any sense. It still doesn't make any sense to me why all this happened. But I know it was not just of me and my own doing, especially going to SECs that year. I made my first SEC team. And you want to talk about nerve-wracking. I mean, lining up on the line with guys like Brandon Miller and Navosky Anderson, who now runs for Under Armour. And I mean, y'all have seen what Brandon's doing. And he was just as much of a dog back then as well. And I'm like, man, I've got to live up to this guy. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's like, okay, fine, whatever. And that prelim I PR'd by 2 seconds, and I think I ended up running like 146.2, and that was the craziest race of my entire life. And again, I didn't deserve that. And we come back 2 days later, and I was, again, blessed and privileged to take home silver for Texas A&M and PRing again and running 146.0. I got caught at the line by Navosky Anderson. Navosky, if you're listening, I love you, brother. But dude, yeah, caught me at the line, just dipped right under and got me for the win. But that was the biggest blessing and biggest thing that I didn't do anything to deserve that or to be able to deserve that opportunity, let alone still be running on the track. And so nothing but gratitude for that. And yeah, just I know I don't deserve that.
I mean, what a story. That just proves that you are super resilient and you overcame such adversity as a young college athlete. What would be your message to maybe athletes out there who are listening, who are going through a similar maybe diagnosis or a setback and they're really frustrated, right? Or maybe it's a student at Texas A&M who has a hard medical diagnosis and they're just trying to deal with that and get through that. What would be your message to them?
Man, I think what I'd have to say would be that everything happens for a reason. And that's really hard to hear, especially whenever things are hard. That can almost be like one of the worst things to hear.
Right.
It's like, what do you mean everything happens for a reason? Like this in the moment, in the perspective that we have at that time, like it a lot of times that does not make any sense. Mm-hmm. And that's really, I think, where faith comes in, is when things don't make any sense. And that's the beauty of faith. I think that's the gift of faith. And I think that's where the real point of faith comes in, because that's where we're really allowed to build that relationship with our Father, to build that relationship with Christ, is in those opportunities that don't make any sense. And had it not been for my teammates and for my community that I mentioned earlier that had brought me to church and re-sparked and reignited my love for Christ, I don't think that I would have made it through those challenging times the way that they played out. And so I would strongly encourage any athlete or any Aggie or anybody to invest in their faith, invest in Christ, to sit in that uncertainty and give that to Him and have faith that all things work for the good of those who love God. And even though in that moment, in that time, whenever our perspective is really close to the painting and we can only see this really bad spot on this painting, that there's an entire canvas and that this small spot has a huge place on that. It can be so, so, so good.
Right. Just a part of the puzzle piece.
It is.
Right. A small part, right.
It's one puzzle piece. And the puzzle wouldn't be the same without it. If I had it my way, I never would have had heart surgery. I never would have had a heart issue. I would have had it the easiest track ever going through college and just won everything, and that would have been it. But it really wouldn't have been much of a story that way. And that was just a huge reminder that His plan is always better than ours, and that doesn't make it easy, and it's okay that it's hard, I think, as well. It's I don't say these things saying that like, oh, well, now you should just be fine and you should just be happy and whatever. Like, no, it's like it's hard, and that's part of it, and that's part of what makes it so special, is that it is difficult, but we can do hard things, and with Christ and with God, I mean, we can do hard things through that faith.
Absolutely. I mean, amen to that. I could not agree more. And what an awesome story and testimony that you have. And I'm sure that that's just, you're living that out and it's impacted other people too, right? And thank you for sharing that, Sam.
Of course. Yeah, just the one thing that came to mind that I wanted to add is it's not of our own strength. And I think when we stop trying to rely on our own strength and we just rely on His strength and give it to Him, I mean, the God of the universe, I mean, like, oh, come on, like I can't compare with that. I can run and lift and do as much as I want to, but there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do to even match a fraction of what He can do. And whenever we give it to Him truly in that surrender, I think is whenever that joy and that peace and those things are able to come and start making a change.
Mm-hmm. And you got through that adversity, and then I have to mention this because you went on. I mean, just this year, you've You won the SEC Indoor 800 meter championship. And then you also did the same thing in 2024. So you're a two-time indoor champion. And then this year, you're also named to the Bowerman watch list. So what does it mean to you to have those accolades now?
Nothing but gratitude. And knowing that truly, like, there's nothing that I've done to get these things. Like, there are so many times where it could have been taken away. I've broken both my feet, my navicular, and I remember being told by a surgeon in high school that that was the end of my career and that was going to be it. And my dad and I driving home from Houston after that appointment, looking at each other and being like, we got to find another guy. Like, surely this can't be it.
Right.
And then between heart surgery, after that race that I mentioned earlier, as soon as I stepped off the track, I went into an hour-long episode that would end that season and result in a second procedure instead of going on to regionals and nationals. And my sophomore year, I broke my foot. Junior year, I was having problems with my SI joint in my back. And then this year, having some weird problems in my hip kind of around the same time. November doesn't like me very much. It's kind of what I've learned. November and December
Not a good month.
are whenever I'm on guard because I'm like, okay, something is about to happen. I don't know what it is, but something's about to go wrong. And for some reason, that's just the way it's been for the past 4 years. But each and every time, kind of getting brought back through these things, it's really been emphasized just on the relationship with Christ and relationship with our Lord, like through all of this. And it hasn't necessarily always made him easier. It's been hard. But I think that's where the value is. And having the opportunity to have continued to win races or to be nominated for these things, like, is just truly like not in myself. And I'm so incredibly grateful for each and every one of them, for sure.
Yeah, I'm getting this picture of like refinement, right? You know, when, I mean, diamonds, they're not formed unless they're put under pressure. And
Sure.
So that's what's coming to mind with your story. But really quick, before we wrap up today, I want to know, you've done a lot with crafting and promoting your own personal brand, especially through NIL. What has your experience with name, image, and likeness been like as a student athlete, and how has it personally impacted your life?
Yeah, NIL's been awesome. What a fun opportunity that we've been given as student athletes. I mean, it's been kind of the Wild West in NIL these past couple of years, and just completely new frontier in the space. But man, I'm so grateful for it and the relationships that I've gotten to build because of it. I'm so grateful for the connections that I was able to make, especially with Brooks right now. They've been awesome. And just the potential to continue working with them has been so cool, and something that I wouldn't have gotten to see had it not been for NIL. And it truly a blessing, and just really fun. Like, it's been great. And then a lot of my friends have gotten NIL deals around town. The two that come to my mind is Megan Roberts and her NIL deal with Date Fix, which has been super fun. And she's been getting Date Fix in random places. And it's been really, like, we've walked into the PDC one day and it's like, oh, hey, there's Date Fix. That's awesome. That was Megan. And Grant with his Nautical Bowls NIL deal, which has been really fun. And just getting to see the creativity that both of them have gotten to have with their social media platforms. And that has been so cool, and just it's been an awesome opportunity for student athletes to kind of get out there and, like you mentioned, build your brand and work with different brands like that. And it's just been fun.
Can you talk about just the value you think student athletes are gaining through NIL? Because for a lot of people outside looking in, when they hear NIL, they might think, oh, athletes are just, they're earning money and they're spending it on cars and jewelry and fashion and just kind of blowing it in the wind, right? But I think there's more to it, obviously. I mean, y'all are making these connections with brands, y'all are learning things about promoting your own brand. So can you speak to that point of NIL a little bit?
Yeah, I think NIL kind of gets that rap because that's what everybody sees. But as far as your athlete in general and what most athletes I see are doing, they're making those connections. They're getting to work kind of in the real world and make business deals and build a brand. And I know a lot of athletes who start an LLC. Like, I'm about to start one for myself to continue moving forward. And those are things I wouldn't have been exposed to had it not been for these opportunities that have been provided through just the opportunity that is NIL, and for companies to reach out and to work with companies. And more than likely, I'll be working for Brooks as well as running for them, and getting to do an internship opportunity with them in materials engineering is super awesome and has opened so many doors for a career path as well as a continuation of an athletic career. So it's had a huge impact and allowed for companies and people to come together and do some pretty fun and pretty awesome things and get exposed. Again, let students be exposed to things that otherwise they wouldn't have been exposed to maybe ever or until they're in the workforce. But
that's awesome. And then looking ahead, Sam, what are your goals for the rest of your time at Texas A&M and beyond?
Really, the goal is to do the best that I can. And that's like, okay, come on. But it really is. You can't hit consistent times and you can't hit better times on the track if you're not putting your best foot forward every day and every time you step on that track. That's the mentality that I like to stick to and the goal I like to pursue. It's not always as easy as it sounds. I mean, there's days when things aren't going quite right or things are feeling a little hard or just might be kind of up in the wind. I know I kind of had a spike mishap over at regionals, and praise God for Texas A&M Track and Field that we were able to get that sorted out before I stepped on the track. Lots of thank yous there to Olivia and Coach Joe and Jade, if y'all are listening. I mean, yeah, they and Haley, they all made that happen. So praise God for them. But even in the midst of like those kind of like crazy, chaotic moments like that, I still got to think about, man, like I've got to do my best with whatever I'm given, with whatever I have. I've got to do my best. And I think that kind of translates over into life as well. There's so many things on the track that translate over to life. Moving forward, I'm looking forward to continuing my running career. Where exactly that'll be right now is not set in stone, but I'm really leaning towards Brooks. And they're joining the Brooks Beasts up in Seattle. That's what I'm really excited for. It's been really fun to work with them with NIL over the last couple of years. Brandon Miller, also former Aggie, is up there in Seattle training with them. So super excited for that. I kind of mentioned before as well, they offer internships because they are headquartered there. So I'd love to do an internship with them in the fall and the summer over the next couple of years for materials R&D and that kind of stuff for their product development. So there's also philanthropy positions and that kind of thing as well. And I'd actually be interested in doing that a little bit and getting involved in that community involvement side of things. So those two things, I really think that's a passion of mine I'd like to pursue. And I think that's a doorway that they're providing. And again, if that door's open and God keeps it open, I'll walk through it. But if he closes it, man, I know there's a better one.
Man, that is just fantastic. And congrats to you. I know everybody will be cheering you on every step of the way as you enter into, the next season of life. And then finally, Sam, I have to ask this. What makes you proud to be an Aggie?
Oh my gosh. So I don't know how much time we have left, but I could talk about this forever. My grandfather was class of 55, and growing up with my papa, I knew Texas A&M was a special place. I mean, he wore his Aggie ring until the day that he passed, and had maroon and white flags flying outside his little cabin outside of town. And I'd always known it was special, but never really understood. Like they say, from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. From the inside looking out, you can't explain it. And man, my freshman year, unfortunately, he passed away. And we were actually able to get his muster here in College Station. And being the closest family member to College Station, I was given the privilege to hold his candle on the floor of Reed Arena a couple of years ago. And I'll never forget sitting down there and listening to General, now President Welsh's speech at muster that night, standing up and holding his candle and waiting for his name to be called. And when his name was called, saying, "Hear myself," and not being able to hear myself say "here," just because of how many people in Reed Arena who didn't know this man, and only association to him were that they were Aggies as well, were saying "here." That really cemented for me what it meant to be an Aggie and why the Aggie family actually has meaning, why that Aggie ring means so much to so many people, why he wore that ring until the day that he passed, and why this university meant so much to him. And in that moment, it was like, well, this is why this place is so special, and this is what makes Texas A&M Texas A&M. And this is why you say howdy to Aggies that you see whenever you're not even on campus. And people, I've heard so many stories of people going out of their way for Aggies just because they're a part of the Aggie family. And that's really where that started to make sense for me. And that's really where it clicked. And I think being able to stand down there on Reed Arena and hold his candle might have been my proudest moment here at Texas A&M.
Sam Whitmarsh on Answering the Call podcast. Sam, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your incredible story.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Answering the Call. If you're enjoying the show, please rate and follow us on your podcast streaming platform of choice so you can be the first to know when a new episode drops. As always, a big thank you to our incredible podcast producer, Megan Rohde, to 12 Man Productions, and Texas A&M Athletics NIL Department. We also extend our heartfelt gratitude to every donor and season ticket holder for always answering the call through loyal support of Texas A&M Athletics and our student athletes. We will be back soon with more content. Thanks and gig 'em.